Coming up on this episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset Series podcast.
Like when you're an entrepreneur, there are so many ups and downs, and there's so many things can go wrong, and sometimes happens, and sometimes it don't. But you really have to be prepared and have that kind of like build up your entrepreneurial muscles and being persistent and consistent in whatever you do, because there is no overnight success. I know it's a cliche because everybody talks about it, but so many people think that, okay, I tried being an entrepreneur for a half a year and it didn't work out. No, you have to keep going to a certain extent, like at least to try every single possibilities. And like my motto in life is just keep going. And I think we kind of need to follow that when you are an entrepreneur, because sometimes we're stuck, but when you are stuck and you need help, you need to ask for help. And the power of community, because we are never alone. There are always amazing networking groups all around the world. There's amazing other kind of communities, supportive communities that you can be part of. For example, I'm part of the Go-Giver community run by Bob Berg. And for me, they are like my second family. So it's kind of a shout out to them. But we all need to find our tribe, because when we are down or when we are kind of lost a little bit, or we feel alone, because many times as an entrepreneur, you do feel alone because you work remotely, although you have all these, lovely meetings, thanks to the technology over Zoom and, different platforms, but we are still alone. So we still need the community. We still need people around us, even virtually, it doesn't matter. But just to get continued, we always need to take the small steps approach as well, because as I said, nothing happens overnight. But if you do something consistently, persistently, every single day in, small steps, one small step every day, you will get there.
Welcome, leaders, to the Women's Leadership Mindset Series presented by TK Page Enterprises. My name is Teresa Page, and I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and to connect and follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media platforms. And always feel free to contact me directly via email or by booking an appointment. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through diverse mediums of leadership empowerment solutions and the My Journey to Wholeness book series. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset Series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with a goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were, this platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate, as our featured guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide viable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Well, all right, in today's video, it is my pleasure to welcome to my virtual stage Noemi Beres, co-founder of Podcast Connections of Cyprus, Europe. Noemi is the co-owner of Podcast Connections, where she helps entrepreneurs and experts grow through meaningful, high-quality podcast interviews. A linguist by training with a master's degree in Danish language and literature, Noemi has worked in online marketing since 2007 and brings a deep love of communication, clarity, and connection to everything she does. Based in Cyprus, she is also a content creator and mixed media artist inspired by her Hungarian roots. Through her latest offering, Silent Thinking Sessions, Noemi creates calm, grounding spaces for reflection and emotional well-being in a fast-paced world. So to connect with Noemi, you may reach her on her website at www.podcastconnections.co. You may also connect with her on social media via LinkedIn at Noemi Beres and on Instagram at Noemi_Beres_. So we'll bring back this information along with Noemi's free complimentary gift before we go. But first, I want to say, welcome, Noemi. How are you?
Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show today. It's an honor to be here. I'm very well, thank you. How are you today?
I am doing just fine, just fine. Just really excited about our conversation on today. Before we get into it, I do have to give a big shout out because we connected on LinkedIn.
That's right.
And as a result to you listening to one of the recent conversations that I had the pleasure where my featured guest was Mr. and Mrs. Cheyenne and Don Kramer, which are the founders of Unity Wellness and Peace Systems, and who are great friends of yours. So I'm so excited about that connection, and thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm really excited about our conversation.
It's my pleasure, and I'm really excited about our conversation too.
Awesome. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's get down to business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the bio?
Beyond the bio, yeah. So I was born and raised in Hungary, in Central Europe, and I've been living on this beautiful Mediterranean island of Cyprus in the past 15 years. And I think my bio pretty much summed up what is about me. I traveled a lot growing up. I was an exchange student in Denmark. That's why I speak Danish and Swedish. And I also lived in Ireland for 7 years. I loved Ireland. Irish people are amazing and so welcoming, but the country was too cold. So I had to move and move to a Mediterranean country. And yes, I had different businesses before the pandemic. We had an online travel-related business with my husband. I was doing a lot of social media marketing, online marketing, content creation, blogging. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the business stopped. We had to pivot. And that's how I ended up in the podcasting world, in the podcast guesting world. And that was in 2020 when we started our own podcast booking agency, Podcast Connections. So it was a lot going on in the past 20 years when it came to business. But as you know yourself, when you are an entrepreneur, your life is never boring.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you are an international Renaissance woman where the world is your address. So I love that about you. And, I think COVID kind of hit a lot of people hard. It definitely caused people either to learn how to pivot, or either they froze and then decided to just close up, or different things like that. But it seems to me that because you were already doing a lot of work online, that it was kind of easy for you to make that adjustment and to pivot, even though you had to pause and consider something new, to step into the work that you're doing on today. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%, Teresa. I've been working remotely since 2007, so way before COVID. And I remember that when I told my friends when I started my own business that I've been working remotely, like they didn't even know about it. Like it was so strange that you don't have to go to a workplace and you work from home. And so when pandemic hit, for me, it wasn't a huge change. I've been working in my home office for many years before that. So yeah, it wasn't a big surprise for me. Like, business as usual. Apart from that, you lost your business. So yeah.
Absolutely. And can you tell those of us, especially the entrepreneurs, and even those who may not be in the entrepreneurial space, or they may be finding themselves just in a weird space where they're out of a job or something like that, or they might even be standing still with their business, not knowing what are the next steps, or am I making the right impact? Can you talk to us about the importance and the willingness to be able to pivot. So even if you're doing one thing, that regardless if it's a pandemic or another intense moment or reality that hits your life suddenly, why is it so important for us to have that agility to pivot, whether we're an entrepreneur or just an employee working for an employer? Why is that so important for us?
It's really important for us because it's basically, it becomes part of our lives. Like when you're an entrepreneur, there are so many ups and downs, and there's so many things can go wrong, and sometimes happens and sometimes it don't, but you really have to be prepared and have that kind of like build up your entrepreneurial muscles and being persistent and consistent in whatever you do, because there is no overnight success. I know it's a cliche because everybody talks about it, but so many people think that, okay, I tried being an entrepreneur for a half a year and it didn't work out. No, you have to keep going to a certain extent, like at least to try every single possibilities. And like my motto in life is just keep going. And I think we kind of need to follow that when you are an entrepreneur, because sometimes we're stuck, but when you are stuck and you need help, you need to ask for help. And the power of community, because we are never alone. There are always amazing networking groups all around the world. There's amazing other kind of communities, supportive communities that you can be part of. For example, I'm part of the Go Giver community run by Bob Berg. And for me, they are like my second family. So it's kind of a shout out to them. But we all need to find our tribe, because when we are down or when we are kind of lost a little bit, or we feel alone, because many times as an entrepreneur, you do feel alone because you work remotely, although you have all these, lovely meetings, thanks to the technology over Zoom and, different platforms, but we are still alone. So we still need the community. We still need people around us, even virtually. It doesn't matter. But just to get continued, we always need to take the small steps approach as well. Because as I said, nothing happens overnight, but if you do something consistently, persistently, every single day, in small steps, one small step every day, you will get there.
Absolutely. And I love some of the things that you just mentioned there about building your entrepreneurial muscles, even when it seems like it's not working, to make sure that you try every single possibility. I absolutely love that. The second thing that you spoke about was having that community, and being a part of a community. I think that sometimes, that maybe entrepreneurs, and I'm starting to see that community is the way to go as far as entrepreneurship. I personally believe that, as entrepreneurs, or like I say, my entrepreneurial colleagues, that we should be each other's champion and not see each other as competitors. Um, and so I think that's why that community part is so important. Would you agree with that? That we as entrepreneur community needs to be able to champion each other's work, be willing to be a trumpet for one another, to help them to grow their community. You think?
Absolutely, 100%, Teresa. Especially when I look at LinkedIn. Like, this is my main social media platform, although some people don't call it social media, but it is social media. So, and so I can see that the way we support each other, the way we complement each other's work, it's so powerful. Like, sometimes just a good word, just a message, just a note to someone, it just make their day. And it doesn't cost anything to be kind to each other and support each other and push each other to be better, to be more. And sometimes that's all we need. We don't need anything else. Like, sometimes you have a bad day, you get on a social media platform like LinkedIn and you post something and you get some amazing comments, and they literally, they can make your day. And they can see, or you can read a story about someone else that, oh, they struggle with the same thing that I've been struggling. And now you realize that you are not alone with that problem. There are plenty of people who have the same problem like you. They just don't talk about it. But if we are open and if we are more vulnerable about our stories and things happening to us, with us, for example, on LinkedIn, and you share it with your followers, share it with your friends, it's so much easier to deal with anything that comes your way.
Absolutely. Now, I will have to say, Noemi, that I am guilty oftentimes of not being so vulnerable. A lot of times we just want to show our strength and, and not necessarily talk about so much of our struggles. I am just one of those people. Can you maybe talk from your perspective about how, for people like myself, how can we take down our guard maybe just a little bit? Maybe not tell all of our business, but then to take down our guard, to share our vulnerabilities, and to also demonstrate our transparencies, even though we're trying to position ourselves as thought leaders and especially in the social media space. How can we take down that wall to be a little bit more vulnerable so we can be of help to one another?
It's not easy to do that. It's really, and I totally understand you that you are struggling with it because other people struggle with that too. We always want to look this strong, independent, successful woman in social media because that's what society expects us to do. But once you kind of shed those layers and there are deeper layers to us. And I think people align with us and with our message so much easier when they see that kind of vulnerability. I'm not talking about like we have to share what we had for breakfast or about our private life or anything like that. But
Right.
like, but to share our struggles too, as long as our success, because entrepreneurial life is about struggles, it's about success, and like it's so much easier for people to learn from you when you share your mistakes, when you share your struggles. And I've seen that so many times on social media, especially on LinkedIn, which before was a really professional, really resume-like space when everybody, wore, ties and everybody had to be just like super professional because that was the way. And thankfully that changed. The world opened up and now we are able to really share who we are. And once you do that, even as a podcast guest during a podcast conversation, I think people align with your message so much more. And when you're an entrepreneur, they even do business easier with you. One of my good friends told me the other day, where we have a book club and we talked about something and we talked about the power of social media. And she told me like why people are successful or how people can be successful on LinkedIn. And she told me that you're first human and then you are the business person behind that human. Because once you show that like human side of you, everything becomes so much easier. People trust you more. There are so much fakeness in this world today. And once you are not fake and you really give your true self and show your true self, it's people just love it. And with AI and AI spreading and everything is just getting so strange in this world. I'm not against AI, I love using AI and everything, but the human touch will be much more important in the future from now on. So once you show that human side of you, it's powerful.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the way that you said that of having why human touch is so important for us, especially in an AI
Yes.
fast-driven world where everybody now wants to look like a cartoon or extra polished or those different things like that. So thank you so much for giving us some insight. So this is a great pivot into the work that you do as far as in for podcasting and with podcast connections, and how podcasting can be a tool for entrepreneurs to show that vulnerability as well as their strength, depending upon the work that they do. So let's get into it. Take us behind the curtain of podcast connections. Tell us what it's about, who you serve, and what is the motivation behind the work that you do.
First of all, I would start with the motivation behind the work I do, because for me, it's really important to help people, especially business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, to get booked on these amazing shows like yours and to share their knowledge. And by sharing their knowledge, supporting their business, getting visibility, and getting those connections, because nowadays, especially in the 21st century, podcast guesting is one of the most powerful networking tools out there. Many people don't realize that it's not just about the interview, but it's about the connection that we are establishing here. I just saw a LinkedIn post by my previous client, and she tagged me in the post, and she talked about that, like, oh my gosh, I had a lunch with this amazing podcast host that Noemi introduced me to like 2 years ago when I was a guest on her show. And we are, going into like kind of partnership, working together. And this is the power. This is why I'm so happy to do this work. This is the whole reason behind it. So I can add value to other people's lives. I can help them to share that amazing knowledge we all carry, and those amazing stories we all carry, and help them to get out there into the world. And so basically that's what I've been doing, and helping these entrepreneurs and provide them with a done for you service. So we organize everything for them. They only have to pick the time and the date, and we deal with the rest. We organize everything when it comes to a podcast interview, so they can solely focus on their business, and on their speaking opportunities or their podcast interviews, we deal with the rest.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So is there a particular niche that you like to work with, or does it matter what type of entrepreneur you work with?
It doesn't really matter. The niche doesn't really matter what you do. I mean, we've been in so many different niches over the past 6 years. We started with e-commerce, then sales, then marketing, then leadership coaches, and so holistic coaches, LinkedIn experts, and so on. The niche doesn't really matter. I think the important thing is to realize that you can start podcast guesting at any time of your business, but I would suggest to do it maybe second or third year of your business. Once you have an established business and you don't necessarily rely on podcast guesting as a sole marketing tool, because there are so many other marketing tools out there. But of course, once you have an established business, it's more than happy to help you with podcast guesting. It's just easier. So first, just focus on your clients and get them on board. And then you can start the promotion of your service, of your book. I think it's important to know that there's no quick fix solution when it comes to podcast guesting. This is a long-time marketing strategy. It takes time to get there. And yeah, it's all about just doing rinse and repeat all those podcast interviews for at least 3 to 6 months to see the exact results you want them from.
Absolutely. And, I think that's really important that you kind of put that on the floor, that it does take time. It can take 3 to 6 months before you really do see an outcome, or at least a return on your investment of that time of podcast guesting. How would you say that for entrepreneurs who are looking to podcast, how they need to present themselves in a way where they are starting to see a return? Like, what do you think is the magic sauce behind that? Is it the vulnerability? Is it the thought leadership? Is it the lead magnet? Or maybe the combination of all of those things? What have you found to be that secret sauce that once entrepreneurs get across that 3 to 6 months, that then they're starting to see that return? What do you think that would be from your perspective?
It's a mix of everything. It's a bit of both. Like, basically, once you're there, once you open, once you're vulnerable, you're super clear about your service, you're super clear about your business, you have topics that you can talk about and you are really familiar with. You are practiced, because it's all about practice, practice, practice when it comes to guesting. And I would say also that content repurposing, once your episode is live, you have to make the most of it. Like, before we started the interview, you told me how many great ways you promote one single episode, and you do an amazing job with that. And I would encourage everyone who is listening and who is a podcast guest, like, yes, please do share the episodes, because that's crucial. It's a win-win situation to tag the host. And I think that's the secret sauce, because so many people treat podcast guesting and podcast interview just like a one-time thing, done and dusted. Okay, I did this interview, let's forget about it, like as if never happened. But, but I mean, podcast guesting, it's so important to use that content, to share that content, because nobody remembers what you posted on LinkedIn 2 weeks ago rather than like 2 days ago. So you can always repost your content. It's super, super important. And also to just to tag the host, because that's part of it. And what I also suggest to people that once the interview is over, thank the host. Important. Not many people do that, although it's pretty basic that you thank the host for the interview, maybe next day. And you can always suggest to jump on a post-interview call with the host. So you can have a 15-20-minute conversation where you can figure out how to help, how to serve each other, what you can do for each other. Can you suggest other podcast guests for the show? There are endless opportunities. I've seen business relationships built on these calls. I've seen friendships made on these calls. So I think the secret sauce is there, that the podcast interview will continue and the effect will continue once you do something about it. But you have to be proactive. You can't just sit there and wait for all the book sales and all the, all kind of clients coming on your way. You need to be proactive after the interview.
I absolutely, totally agree on that. And I think that's one of my strategies. I always like to do a debrief, or at least offer that debrief. It's not mandatory, but it is optional. And not just for the guests, but it also helps me as the host to see what can I do better, or how can I make people's experience a little bit more comfortable, or is there a different way that I need to communicate those kind of things, what the expectations are. So it's definitely helpful to have that debriefing. You're absolutely correct. I've seen where I've done a podcast with a group of people, then it did lead into something else where I'm either reciprocating on their platform, or we come up with to do a live or something, or I'm on their panel or something like that. And it does build that long-term relationship. So Noemi, I'm really enjoying our conversation. I'm enjoying the feedback that you're giving us on today. Now, I can imagine from your seat that with the work that you do as far as the done for you service that you offer your clients, making the search, making the connections, doing all of the work for them. Now, can you take us behind the scenes in this experience? Because I would like to believe that all of your experiences have been smooth. So even
of
though
course, all the time.
So even though you're the liaison in between the podcast host and the podcast guest, and what I also love is that you do create a space where the host and the guest can actually meet, so to have some time. But have you seen in this journey, and you can tell us either your most funny or your most intense behind the scenes, any adventures where things just didn't go according to plan, where it just didn't work out, whether it was on the podcast host side or either the guest side. Can you take us behind the scenes and maybe share with us any of your adventures since you've been building this business of yours?
Oh, I could write a book about that, I think. The best moments of the podcast booking agents. Yeah, I mean, there's so many funny stories, of course. And, sometimes one of them is like a few podcast hosts, they don't use calendars. Like, I mean, there are so many different types of calendars available, like Calendly, whatever. Like, you can use anything, but some of them don't. So it's really interesting when you exchange 20 to 30 emails until you book a podcast. And it takes like a month or two. And so it's it's fun. It's not. It's painful. Right? Like, sometimes you would just like love to send an email. It just, can we just have just a calendar? So it takes like 2 seconds to book something. And of course, then everything about the different time zones. And so it can be fun to mix up things. And also the technical part, when two people are, waiting for a Zoom call, the host and the guest, and they can't see each other. And it happened to me. It's like there is no show, and everybody was upset, and then you have to be the mediator between them. Like everybody was there, everybody was on time, and of course you always have to keep cool because sometimes you don't know what's going on in their lives, in people's lives. So it can be sickness, it can be an emergency, it can be anything. So there are always funny stories. Or when your client email you last minute, that's like, I don't even know why I'm getting on this show. And before you explained everything, why it's perfect, we booked everything. And then you wait and they have the show, and then they come back to you and tell you, it's like, oh, forget everything I said because I love the conversation. And that's like keeps you happy. But of course you knew it, but you won't tell them. That's like, I knew it, that's going to happen. That's like, it's like, so it's so much fun. And especially that, like, you're working with different cultures. I'm from Europe. Most of my clients are from the US. It's different culture, different background. So there are funny stories all over the place. And of course, sometimes you have to smooth out things between the host or the guest because there was some maybe misunderstanding or something happening. And especially it's always about, scheduling or something. But that's why we are here. That's why we can do things. Some people would love to know the no's, if they get any no from the podcast host. It's like, tell me who said no to me. It's like, no, I never tell you. Like, we take the no's, you take the yeses, because it's so much better for your ego.
I like that. You take the no's and you only share the yeses. I love
yes,
that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you just mentioned, that most of your clients are from here in the U.S. and you are in Europe, and I'm sure you have international podcast host network in different parts of the world. Do you coach your clients that they might need to adjust their language to meet to make sure that they're having a great conversation with a podcast host? How do you prepare your clients to be able to be the right kind of podcast guest when they are dealing with hosts in different parts of the world that might have a different culture than them? Do you suggest that they stay themselves or that they might need to study some of the culture? How do you navigate that particular space?
I think we are quite lucky with that because most of our clients, 99% of our clients, are from the US and the host as well. So it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's not a huge cultural difference there, but we do have a strategy call with every single guest client who sign up with us. And it's really important because we have to go through their topics. We have to go through their bios, their call to action, and also, practical tips and tricks, how to deal with the host, what to say, what not to say, how to do it. So I think it's really important just to be super clear about what are the expectations. But of course, we have these multicultural podcast exchanges too. Like, I do work with an Australian client as well, and I bring him on US podcast, American podcast. So it's always fun. But I mean, right now, I think we are so similar. Like, it doesn't matter where we are. I could be in Europe, like you could be in US, Australia, wherever you are. I mean, we are all the same. So we are having the same problems, the same things happening. So I think it's pretty easy to do that. Now we are, thanks to the technology, we are kind of aligned with each other when it comes to that. So it's just easier now. Maybe it wasn't that easy like 20, 30 years ago, but now it's kind of equal everywhere.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that. And I also like the way that you develop your clients before they do a podcast guesting spot. So thank you so much. Now, Noemi, I'm loving our conversation, and it's about time for us to start downshifting in our conversation, but I still have a couple of more questions for you. One of the things that I love to ask all of my guests is, or at least be able to present to them, is that, of course, as you know, I am passionate about employing love as the ultimate success factor to renew women's leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose. I think you know that about me.
Yes, I love that.
And so with that, I believe that the effective power of love is a game changer for us, especially in the marketplace, in our entrepreneurial work, that it does give us that edge to be innovative in our business, fully present for our teams, our stakeholders, knowledgeable in our industry trends, benevolent in our community service, as well as being powerful in leadership. So, with this understanding, can you share with our audience what kind of leader would you say that you are?
I love that question. I think it's beautiful. I am a heart-centered leader for sure, and a go-giver one. So a heart-centered go-giver leader who tries to help people, serve people first, and listen to their needs, listen to them. Because I think that's the problem with the world right now. We don't listen carefully enough to each other, what other people say. And that, when it comes to your clients, it's super, super important. And the other thing, being a heart-centered leader, you give more love, you get more love. And it doesn't matter that it's a relationship, business relationship, it's the same. It's exactly the same. You put more love into your work, you are surrounded with love.
Absolutely, absolutely. And can you also tell us how would you hope that future generations would benefit from the work that you are doing today as a heart-centered leader?
I would love to have my legacy to connect generations, to connect people all over the world, to help them to get talking about different and very important topics and discuss these all over the world. Because we need to get talking, we need to get together with these amazing energy that we have between us. And it doesn't matter where we are, we need to get talking and we need to discuss topics that maybe we are not so comfortable with, what we must talk about it. And I think we need to encourage future generations, especially teenagers right now, that is super important to stay connected and to represent causes that are close to our heart. For example, for me, mental health awareness, I think it's really important. I'm also an artist, but I also support mental health in any way I can. I have friends, they struggle with it, and I think it's super important to look after each other as well, whether they are your clients or friends or family members.
Absolutely. And I love that. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of insight there. So, as we continue to prepare to downshift, now you've been educating us the entire time, and I've been loving it. And I hope our listening audience have been taking their copious notes as I have, both with on my notepad and now on my cell phone since my ink has run out of my pen. Here's an opportunity for you to educate, especially now there are so many people that might be, um, regardless of where they are, whether they're still working for an employer or they find themselves actively in the job market, or they're just starting to feel a certain malaise with the work that they're doing. They know that there's more. They may have a dream career or a dream business that's been floating in the back of their head and it just won't seem to leave them alone. But at the same time, they just haven't taken this opportunity to step into that dream career or dream business. What tip, what encouragement, or what resource would you give to someone that may be listening that might be in this kind of predicament?
I think it's all about continuous learning. Like when you're an entrepreneur, or even when you are just looking for a job, or you just want to do better in your life and business, I think it's really important to have that kind of craving of learning new things. You never stop learning new things. There are so many amazing books out there. And I know I've been like a book nerd, bookworm since I was, since I could read, but I think reading is so underrated right now. And even though everybody is an author, less and less people read books. Like maybe they listen to them, but less and less read books. So instead of doom scrolling on social media, please, 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 sometimes read a couple of pages, because that will help you to understand so many things about the world we're living in, understand more about business, and educate yourself about so many things. And what I do, for example, every day, just a tip and trick for your audience, that I know we always have that kind of excuse that I don't have time to read because by the time you get to bed, you are too tired and everything. What I do, like every single morning, I squeeze out 10 minutes of my time and I read something. So I usually read like 3 books in parallel, like listen to one and read 2 more. And like if you just read 3 pages every single morning or every single evening or whenever you can learn so much. And you can do that every day, like small step approach. But please do read stuff because it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable source of knowledge out there. We just need to get stick to it and do it again, being, continue and being persistent and consistent with it. That's how we improve ourselves and learn about ourselves and about business and life.
Yes, I absolutely love that about reading and educating yourself for those places that you want to step into. So thank you so much for giving us some insight on that. And let's talk about those who are on the other side. Now they've stepped into the dream career. They've stepped into the dream business. They've educated themselves. They're getting their read time in every day. So they might be feeling a little frustrated or they're feeling a little stuck. How would you push them forward? What tip, what encouragement or resource would you give to someone who's already living the dream and have educated themselves and they're already doing it, but for some reason they're feeling a little bit stuck? What would you give to them?
Being patient with themselves. Um, I think that nowadays this is the problem. Everything is so quick paced. Like we expect everything to happen like tomorrow, like yesterday. And I think even if you're successful and you can see the results of your work, we are still impatient with ourselves. And then we get frustrated and then we don't rest. And I would suggest to schedule rest time, on your calendar, important, like super important, because we can schedule our Zoom calls like 24/7, back-to-back calls, back-to-back podcast interviews. Yes, Teresa, yes, I'm talking about it. But please do schedule downtime. Please schedule rest. Don't work during the weekends, please, in the US. We don't do that in Europe. It's not good for you. It's not good for your health. You don't want to get, burnt out, and you need that rest for your body. And once you rest, you have time to think. And once you have time to think, you can always have those amazing ideas that they can move your business forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Noemi, you weren't supposed to tell the business now. You weren't supposed to tell the world. And I messed around and scheduled 3 back-to-back podcasts. So I'm going to adjust my calendar, but thank you so much for being patient and scheduling that rest. And you best believe when I log off today, I'm going somewhere to rest. Thank you so much for giving us that. Now, Noemi, as we prepare to come to a close, you do have a complimentary gift for our audience on today, How to Be a Great Podcast Guest Cheat Sheet. Why don't you take a second to tell us a little bit about this offering that you're giving to our listening audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share a few insider tips and tricks how to be a better podcast guest or a more outstanding podcast guest. I won't tell you details about it because it's it's an inside secret and everything. But if you get in touch with me on LinkedIn, you type my name in, Noemi Beres, microphone sign next to my name, Podcast Connections. Connect with me. I'm more than happy to send it to you. It's like, it's a very easy read. It's a PDF document. You can download it. You can reread it and you can use it straight away because I love tips that can help you straight away, not like 25 pages and then you still don't know what to do. So it's very easy, and just get in touch with me. I will send it to you on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, and we greatly appreciate this offering that you're going to give us. So we're going to make sure that we get this information in the bio so that those who are looking to do podcast guesting, that they can get these inside secrets that you have for us. So thank you so much. Now, Noemi, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to spend some time with you in your conversation and just gleaning from your expertise and your insight. And I want to say thank you so much. So as we prepare, take us home. What are the final words that you would like to leave with us that will help us to move forward from here throughout 2026 and beyond? What are the final words do you have for us?
My final word is to never give up. That's my motto. Never give up, keep going, and stick to your dreams because they are coming through. And also what we said, give more love than you receive. And it's amazing because once you help, once you serve people, everything comes back tenfold to you. And that's how the world works. Just give love and help and serve people.
That's wonderful. Give love and serve others. Never give up. Keep going. Well, now, Noemi, thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you on today. And I'm just so elated about our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It was an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, ladies, we want to say thank you for joining us. Remember to connect with our guest, Noemi, by connecting with her on her website at www.podcastconnections.co. You may also connect with her on social media via LinkedIn at Noemi Beres, as well as on Instagram at Noemi_Beres_. And be sure to take advantage of her complimentary gift, How to Be a Great Podcast Guest cheat sheet. To access, you may send Noemi a direct message on LinkedIn and indicate that you listened to this episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset Series podcast, and she will send it to you. Again, you may make that connection on LinkedIn at Noemi Beres. Now, leaders, do you have an important story to tell that would inspire others to step into their dream career or business? If so, check the bio to learn how to become one of my special guests. And also, I would like to invite each of you to check out my brand new book, My Journey to Wholeness, Love the Success Factor, the new edition. Now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Ingram Sparks, this book and its companion reference guide workbook remains a tangible demonstration of how God's love develops women to lead, create, and generate wealth in the fullness of our equality, purpose, and business. However, you will find additional insights, steps, and activities on how to practically apply love to your real-life circumstances, careers, or business models with resources already within your immediate reach. So check the bio to learn how to visit my Author's Corner to access the entire My Journey to Wholeness book series and gift collection. So we want to say thank you for joining in for another episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, here's to the journey, and let's move forward.